everyone. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is by the windows. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't usually get to use the gavel, but I get to call the meeting to order tonight. I would like to introduce Deborah Southier. She is the Manchester Town Manager who will assist me in the election of a moderator. At this time, I entertain a motion to nominate a moderator, to preside at this meeting.
I move to nominate Richard A. Spencer as moderator to reside at said meeting. Second.
Are there any other nominations? If there are no other nominations at this time, Deb is going to pass out a couple of ballots. We'll ask you to vote. So Mr. Richard Spencer is going to be our moderator. I'm going to invite him to the stage where I'll give him the moderator's oath and then he will get started. You actually need the paper, or are you all set to? Yeah. So raise your right hand. Do you, Richard Spencer, swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of the state of Maine as long as you will continue to be a citizen thereof, and you will faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent on you as the moderator of the RSU number 38 budget meeting on May 10, 2023, according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Maine?
I do.
Thank you. You want to sign right now, and then I'll that way. Welcome.
Thank you for those votes. One of my partners drove 4 hours to Aroostook County to moderate a budget meeting and lost the election. So I'd like to start by swearing in the ballot clerks. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Maine, so long as you shall continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent on you as ballot clerks of the RSU number 38 budget meeting on May 10th, 2023, according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Maine? Okay. Thank you. I'd also like to start just by very briefly describing the procedures that we would follow in this meeting. Unless there's objection, I would follow the procedures of the Maine Moderator's Manual, which is the booklet that's put out by Maine Municipal Association, and it's the way that town meetings are run in Maine. The only exception to that is that under the statutes, if 10% of the people at a school budget meeting ask for a written ballot, then you have to have a written ballot. Whereas in a town meeting, it takes a 50% vote. Other than that, the procedures are basically the same. If someone wants to make an amendment to one of the articles, we'll take up the amendment first before the article, vote on that, and then vote on the main article. And I won't entertain a motion to amend an amendment because it gets too complicated and is too hard for everyone to follow. So the way we'll handle it is the first person who makes a motion for an amendment will vote on that amendment. And then depending on what happens on that, somebody can make another amendment and we'll vote on that. The other provision that we should address is that under the statutes, a non-resident of the RSU can't speak at the meeting unless the meeting votes to allow them to speak. So there's some administrators in the district who are available to answer questions. So I would entertain a motion to allow them to speak.
I move to allow the following non-residents to speak: Principal Janet Delma, Principal Abby Hudford, Principal Michelle LaForge, Principal Rick Searoyce, Director of Curriculum, Instruction and Assessment Karen Smith, and Adult and Community Education Director Steve Bruce.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow some non-resident administrators to speak. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. That's a vote. Moving right along to Article 2, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for regular instruction, including alternative education, English language learners instruction, and gifted and talented education. School board recommends $8,852,332. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 2 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salaries and benefits for regular education, instructional staff, supplies, professional development, contracted services, and copier maintenance costs.
Been moved and seconded on Article 2. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Article 2 is approved. Article 3, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for special education, the school board recommends $3,098,900. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 3 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for special education administration and instructional staff, special education legal costs, tuition costs for our out-of-district placements. Special education provides services as required by law.
Article 3 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 3 is approved. Article 4, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for career and technical education, co-op pathways program and capital area technical center, CATC tuition. The school board recommends 0. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 4 as recommended. Second.
This seems a little stupid, but the statutes require a vote of 0 because the state now funds the program directly. All those, any discussion of raising nothing for this article? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Article 4 is approved with $0. Article 5, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for other instruction, co-curricular, extracurricular, and regular education summer instruction. School board recommends $534,501. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 5 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes activities in the middle school and high school such as sports, plays, math team, speech and debate, student senate. The expenses in this article are for coaching salaries, officials, services, supplies, equipment, dues, and fees. This article also includes salaries and benefits for summer regular education instructional programs.
Is there any discussion of Article 5? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Article 5 is approved. Article 6, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for student support, guidance, health, technology, and staff support, improvement of instruction and staff training, curricular library assessment. School board recommends $2,193,218. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 6 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for staff and directors in the above-mentioned departments, district-wide professional development, and other assessment, testing, and supplies.
Is there any discussion on Article 6? Yes, ma'am. Resource?
Can I actually get,
No, I think the resource officer is in Article 10. Any other discussion on Article 6? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Article 6 is approved. Article 7, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for system administration, school board and superintendent's office. School board recommends $787,204.
I move to adopt Article 7 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for central office staff, school board stipends, contracted services for legal and audit, legal liability insurance, supplies for school board and central office.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 7. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of Article 7, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Article 7 is approved. Article 8, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for school administration, principal's offices. School board recommends $1,443,207. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt Article 8 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for principals and secretaries, principal professional development, accreditation costs, supplies, dues, and fees.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 8. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 8 is approved. Article 9, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School board, the warrant recommended $1,204,052, but that was a typographical error and two of the numerals were reversed. So the budget actually is $1,240,052. The meeting is allowed to make that change because this is an open article. Is there a motion on Article 9?
I move to adopt Article 9 in the amount of $1,240,052.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for transportation administration, mechanic and bus drivers, mandated physicals and drug testing, repairs, vehicle insurance, fuel supplies, and lease purchase payments.
Any discussion on Article 9? This is a very garrulous group. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 9 is approved. Article 10, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance, School board recommends $3,436,477.
Move to adopt Article 10 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes negotiated salary and benefits for maintenance, administration, custodians, in-school resource officer, utilities, including electricity, oil, propane, telephone, contracted services for snow plowing, heating systems and roof monitoring, building repairs and projects, painting and supplies. It also includes the facilities repair bond, principal and interest payment.
Any discussion on Article 10? In answer to your question, this is the article that includes the school resource officer.
And would anyone that is speaking, please come to the mic so that your comments are on record.
Yes, ma'am.
What question for that? Just because it's one, how expensive is it? I've heard different numbers, 100,000, 140,000 for the school resource officer.
Is there someone who'd like to answer the expense?
Yeah. So in working with the Kennebec Sheriff's Department, we have that number at $100,000.
Okay. And then does that include a car for the sheriff or not?
Yeah, that is the cost that was told to me was our share would be $100,000. I'm not sure all of the pieces of equipment, including a car that might be part of that.
And it's for all the schools?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there any idea about, is it going to be like one day a week at a school or?
We haven't worked that out. We'll have to work that out. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
He
then,
will, he or she will be based at the high school.
okay.
And then we will satellite them out to the other schools on some sort of rotating basis.
And was there a, since I'm not in the schools anymore, what did the teachers get polled for this? Was there, and the students to see what their thoughts were on the resource officer? And do we have results of that?
So yes, they were polled early on, and I'm going to be honest, I do not have that information with me tonight.
Because I would think that would be really important to know before I vote on that, how the schools themselves feel about this. And parents too, that's important too.
Any further discussion on Article 10? Yes, ma'am.
Mary Ann Libby from Mount Vernon. You said exactly 100,000, right? Okay. Have you considered that same amount you could probably hire several ed techs and give them training and restorative practices and anger management, and they would be able to cover the school in a much better way, more bodies out there in the hallways talking to the kids. And I know that I have sent you all many articles in emails that show that schools are pulling back from SROs, that the effectiveness is not always being proven, and that kids who are disabled or who are not white are often kids who have a rougher time in treatment with SROs, and all of which concerns me. I used to take care of a lot of those kids before I retired. So I am wondering how we got this far, and I am wondering if we could propose an amendment to take $100,000 out of this article and not do the SRO.
Could I clarify the way Maine law works? The meeting has the authority to reduce the amount of an article, but it's ultimately up to the school board how they spend the amount that's approved under the article. In other words, the budget meeting just has to approve line item budgets. You can't go into the line item and X out one particular thing. You certainly can make it clear that you're asking for a reduction of 100,000 because you don't want an SRO. You just can't actually put that in the motion.
So it's kind of a done deal insofar as the,
You can offer an amendment to reduce the budget by this article by $100,000. And I think if you did that, the school board could probably figure out what you were hoping they would do. And if the meeting voted for it, the school board could probably get a pretty good idea how the meeting felt. So it's not that I mean, to me, it's not that it's a done deal. I'm just trying to explain what the law is.
I guess then I would like to propose an amendment that we reduce this amount for Article 10 by $100,000.
Okay, there's an amendment on the floor that's been moved and seconded to reduce this article by $100,000. Any discussion on the amendment? In other words, the reduction in the article by 100,000. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bob Gasper. I'm a selectman from Manchester. There was a preliminary survey, pardon me, sheet handed out that showed some students. It was fairly small response. But students grade 4 to 12, there was a 25% response. They were against it, 165 to 80 something. But parents were for it, 268 to 81. And community, which is non-parents, were for it 65 to 47. So in terms of the people that pay these bills, that's parents and community, they were for it 333 to 128. So I'd recommend turning down the amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
May I comment?
Sure.
Okay. The question was asked about the survey. And the question was asked whether we'd thought about it carefully. And both happened. On the survey, my recollection says that the community and the parents predominantly voted to have an SRO. The staff and the students predominantly, and you can talk about the percentages and stuff, predominantly voted not to. The board considered the articles presented to us from both sides. Board members and the community and teachers and students all spoke in different ways about it. It's been very carefully thought about. And others can disagree with me, but I think the consensus was that as with each professional that we have in our district, they're meeting parts of our needs, of our students, of our community. And there was no debate that an SRO is not necessarily going to be able to stop a shooting or is going to necessarily help all the students that may have challenges, but that an SRO is highly likely to be able to help some. And in discussion, we felt that we needed to bring that onto our array of ways that we meet the needs of our students. We also hired another counselor or added a counselor to those that we wanted to hire and kept other professionals that we had added to help the students in the other ways. As the person making the motion said, we need to meet the needs of our students in many ways. And even though an SRO is not the silver bullet or the answer to everything, we felt that it was an important facet that would help our community, but would be carefully regulated, just like each profession has their responsibilities and their authorities would be carefully regulated in our agreement with the sheriff's department so that their duties would be meeting needs.
Somebody else, well, you spoke first, so you can go first again. Oh, wait, here's somebody who hasn't spoken. Let's let him speak first.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Freeman. I'm from Manchester. I'm sure the respective school board committees from the respective towns have spent some time going through this issue, and you haven't brought this lightly. I would commend you for bringing this forth to do something. I agree that you may not, as you had just spoken, sir, you may not be able to deal with every single situation that may arise. But I think I commend you for doing something to anticipate the potential of something happening. And hopefully something would never happen in our schools, God willing. But if it were, would it not be wisdom to have something in place to at least address this potential issue? If someone, God forbid, with a gun walks into a school building, it is a soft target. Our children, my grandchild has no protection other than God Almighty. And so it would be on the conscience of the person who votes not to bring this through, to pass, if something were to happen. We have seen again and again and again. Do I have a time limit, sir?
No,
I'll be as brief as I can. I'm fairly adamant about this issue, and I think it's very important, as you can see. But as we've seen time and time again, children have been needlessly, and teachers, mind you, adults have been needlessly slaughtered because there was nobody there, or perhaps there may have been somebody there who didn't take their responsibilities seriously. So I want to thank the school board, all RSU boards, for bringing this, for deliberating through this, for taking the time to consider it. And I would encourage all to see this through. I know they haven't presented an exact formula for what they're going to do, but I would suggest that they would be, allowed to continue through the process and to work with it. Thank you very much.
further discussion of the amendment. Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to say my name. It was Cheryl Marviny from Reedfield. And I totally understand that the board, I have great confidence in the board having thorough discussions and taking everybody's viewpoint into consideration. So I'm not questioning that piece. I'm just with respect to all of this, then with all that thoughtful consideration, do you then have a plan after a year to reevaluate how has this been working? Do we have a set of standards that we're looking to have this gentleman or woman, this officer, what they're going to be doing in each school? And did that work out? And then sit down and have an evaluation at the end of that first year to see that things are happening the way you had anticipated them to be?
So the short answer to that is yes. As part of working with the Kennebec Sheriff's Department, they have made it very clear that there will be annual evaluations, and if this is not working, then either we find someone else or we stop it altogether. So, but they have assured me that we will use their process, which is fairly rigorous. So, thank you.
So any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Bob Gasper again, just a follow-up question. It's sort of a procedural question. So being on the board in my town, one of the things we do is to get an item in an article, the board votes whether to put it in an article or not. So I assume this board took a vote whether to put this before the people. And even though it's before the people, the vote could have been a negative vote. But they're gonna let the people decide. So I was curious what the vote was of board members to have this be put forward. Some night you took a vote.
Yeah,
on
so,
this.
yeah. I'll attempt to answer that. I don't want to speak for the entire board, but the way that we develop the budget is that final number, and everything that is in the budget is part of that number. So that's kind of what we did, and at that point it was unanimous when we took that final vote for the final budget number, and it included all of those items.
So just one other process suggestion maybe. So also in our town, the selectmen vote on every article that we're going to have here. We have 5 selectmen. And if we have one that's most always, they're usually 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. Sometimes we'll hit one that's 3-2. That catches people's eyes. And I think that each of these, the board might put their support here. The board probably majority supports all these. The other thing we do though is if we have something that's a brand new hot button item, we stand it out alone in an article. So there isn't any, and this isn't slipping by, I understand, we're not trying to slip it by, putting it in that, it's got to be in some article. But sometimes to just stand it out alone shall the district have a SRO, put $100,000 on just that article. And then it keeps it nice and clean, how you argue about it and what the intention of the people is that you want subtracted out of it in the event of an amendment to lower the value.
With all due respect, sir, I think you should run for the legislature because the state requires that the school board use these
Oh, I'm
articles.
sure. It is a little different than municipalities.
Right.
And they are getting a raise, I see in the newspaper a couple of days ago.
So is there further discussion on the amendment? Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Marco from Mount Vernon. So my comment would be that through the discussion of one of the largest articles in the pamphlet includes this $100,000 allocation for a student resource officer that's been provided to us by the sheriff's office, but still does not factor in a grant reduction for the first 3 years where that number would be much lower. As far as comment on advocating for this position to be allowed to move forward and not take money out that wouldn't guarantee that the SRO comes off the budget. Folks that are in favor of helping all students of all types with all academic access, success, disabilities and not, family background, accessibility, and support. This is a different and additional way of supporting children, staff, and administrators of all schools in the RSU of 38. To believe that we need to take this program out would be deciding that the students at some level and in some way do not deserve all the support we can offer them. This article includes other resources. The full budget includes additional resources around all other subjects of mental health and academics. This potentially reaches a sliver of students that don't see what their issues, struggles, access, or concerns are to be solved solely by the administration or teachers or academics or curriculum of a school. A school resource officer is not only here to prepare for school shootings. What I think that the board and the community has not been well provided with for information is how many different types and numbers of escalated behavioral, drug, harassment, bullying occurrences have taken place in the schools in the last year or so. From participating and sitting at board meetings, I understand the number has risen. The number is rising in a way that we cannot take action on in some way that is dramatically different and that offers an alternative solution, trying to keep not just school shootings as less of a possibility, but it keeps the possibility of other entry-level type of scenarios where children or others are making bad choices to enter this school and for those children to not have resources, whether it's support through a disciplinary process, whether it's support through community services. This is a resource that is used by many other school districts that have championed them and have had them for years. We do not need to invent the wheel here, but we can make the wheel what we want it to be. And in evaluating every program inside of this school district, whether it's curriculum or otherwise, it's a regular process that is followed as a standing process for any ongoing development and action around curriculum or other programs in the school. This should not be believed it would be any different. We can have this position be what our district needs it to be. We can hire the right person and we can take steps forward. That's all.
So is there further discussion on the amendment, which would reduce the article by $100,000? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. Robin Graziano, resident of Reedfield, also staff member at the high school. I've spoken before and I've been here 21 years and I firmly believe we do not need a school resource officer. I think that it gives us a false sense of security. This resource officer is going to be moving from one school to another. And I do understand the potential risk. And it happens everywhere. It happened on exit 15 on 295. And we can't place officers every place that we think there's going to be a shooting. Where I really do think the money needs to be placed is, and I appreciate that the school board has done this, is we need more mental health counselors in our school. Even starting down at the elementary school level. Having been here quite a while, I have seen the increase in mental health issues at our schools and at the elementary schools increase at a very alarming rate. And especially with the pandemic, it's even more so. I think that because a school resource officer is not trained as a mental health worker, we would be doing our students a disservice by not getting another mental health worker that would be appropriately trained to handle the things that our students are needing right now. So I would rather see this $100,000 go every year to an additional work employee that would either be at the elementary school to help those students or any of the other schools to help those students, or someone who rotates between the other schools, similar to what we're talking about with a school resource officer. That's my opinion. Thank you.
So is there further discussion on the amendment? Yes, sir. Oh,
So how much by percentage this year we increasing the budget by? Exactly.
could you repeat the question? I don't know if
What's
any.
the percentage we're gonna be increasing the budget by this year?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that question. 7.63%.
And what's the total dollar amount about that, of that,
The total dollar amount of
between all the articles, you know?
The increase
Total
or
increase.
the total?
The total increase by dollar amount on the budget on all the articles added together. I guess so it might.
You mean the total budget?
Yes, the
Yeah.
total budget altogether.
What's the dollar? Oh, the total, sorry, 1.5, a little over 1.5 million.
Okay, so is like in all the articles added together, is $100,000 really gonna change anything at this point? Have we ever had an RSO in the school?
We have not had an SRO.
Okay, so at this point, shouldn't we probably try something different? If we have guidance counselors and we have all the other avenues for these kids to try, and that's not necessarily completely working, but shouldn't we probably try something else to probably benefit the kids, not just the kids that need help mentally in that avenue, but the kids that just need somebody else to talk to? Because as a male inside of schools, the guidance counselors weren't always the one to approach. And I went to school in Winthrop that had one, and he was a basketball coach. He was always out there at grade school, on the playground with the kids, talking to them. We had the DARE program. There's things that is a benefit to bring back that I think we're overlooking. And we need to start kind of thinking about other avenues because the avenue we are going is not working.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Can I
Oh, yes, sir.
add something? Sean Roderick, Greenfield. I just want to add, someone brought up other positions. I think it was the last night we voted on the budget. Some of us didn't want to go further and adding more money to the budget, but it was a give and take amongst the board. We added, I think, four or five positions that night to kind of compromise to get to the point of having an SRO, because we were cutting an interventionist, we were cutting some other positions, and we were adding the SRO, and then some of us came to the conclusion, well, we'll add them all back in because it's that important to us. So I want to add, there were multiple positions added back in to the budget that were cut. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment. Yes, ma'am.
Only one last thing as it relates to the statement about mental health. The umbrella of mental health is very big. I think the spectrum is very broad. And I think when you're trying to consider whether there's a place where a child can make a connection with somebody, the measurable impact to mental health is probably not what's currently quantified or qualified in a lot of statistics around very specific regions of mental health. And I think it's in that vein that you consider that mental health is being supported by a student resource officer from a number of different perspectives that you look at that. So I don't think you can isolate. There's a lot of information on the internet about student resource officers and the multiple facets of how they integrate into the culture and community of a school system. And you can find a lot of it very quickly, and it is very broad. So it talks to just what the police academy will provide for training, additional training that will be provided to a student resource officer before they're put into that type of position. And when you find the right individual, there may already be other things they bring to the table that fit our school district for what our kids need. There are a lot of myths to what happens with a school resource officer in a school. Conversations that spun around school board meetings, which are all on Zoom. I mean, they're all on YouTube. You can go and watch them. There were discussions around the fear that a student resource officer means that children will start getting arrested and dragged out of schools. That's not how it works. That's not how it has to work. There's a lot of different ways trying to help kids early on understand the impacts of decisions while protecting other kids. Whether somebody makes a first mistake or a second mistake, if it's with my kids, it's the only mistake. We need to protect all kids, those that might make a mistake and those that don't deserve to be on the sideline or impacted by a mistake. And that doesn't disclude the fact that a student resource officer is also here to support students and teachers and administration. They're not just here for one purpose or one type of individual. They're here for all kinds of individuals, including those in the rest of the community that don't walk through these doors every day. That is all.
So is there further discussion of the amendment?
There is. Christine Gaucher, Mount Vernon. So I just wanted to, David, you spoke really eloquently about the process that the board went through, and I agree with everything you said, but I just wanted to address specifically the issue that was raised by a community member regarding students with disabilities. I want to say that we listened to and considered every single article that was sent to us. We shared articles amongst ourselves. We deliberated in really good faith. People were, I think, at the beginning questioning for good reason some of the things that we've seen in other communities. There were concerns about students being arrested on campus, and I think those are very valid concerns. There were concerns about students with disabilities and the training that a school resource officer would need to have, what they regularly would get from the sheriff's office, and then what we would require them to have. And I'm really proud of the work that the board did on this. And at the end of all of our discussions and deliberations, which were weeks and weeks, and included a school resource officer coming to talk with us and answer lots of questions about the position. We did come to a common agreement that this was something that we wanted to provide. And I'm just really proud of the way that we deliberated. I know that as a community member, you're not always aware of what happens. Not everybody watches the YouTubes. I guess not everybody watches the YouTube board meetings. I don't know why. But we did a lot of discussion, and I'm really proud of how we went through it and came to the conclusion that it should be included.
Further discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. This vote is just on the amendment, which is to reduce the article by $100,000. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. All those opposed to the amendment say nay. The nays have it. The amendment fails. That takes us to the main Article 10, which is to approve $3,436,477 for facilities maintenance. Any discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of Article 10 as recommended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Article 10 is approved. Article 11, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. The school board recommends 0.
To adopt Article 11 as recommended. Second. This article included bond payments for the school construction project for the high school addition and renovation, and is paid in full.
Again, the state law requires this article, even though nothing is being raised under it. Any discussion of not raising any money for debt service that you don't owe? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on Article 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Article 11 is approved. Article 12, to see what sum the RSU will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures, food services, reimbursable transportation. School board recommends $114,287.
I move to adopt Article 12 as recommended.
Second.
This article includes local dollar support of the food service program and reimbursable transportation provided for RSU 38 towns and recreation programs.
Any discussion on Article 12? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 12 is approved. Article 13. Do I see a motion to suspend the reading of Article 13? Do you all have copies of the articles? Does everybody have a copy? So it's been moved to suspend the reading of Article 13. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? And what suspending the reading means is that I just don't have to read this whole article to you out loud. Any discussion of suspending the reading? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. That will suspend the reading of Article 13. Is there a motion on Article 13?
I move to adopt Article 13 as recommended. Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend Article 13 as written, as recommended, and as written in the warrant and in the budget document. Is there any discussion on Article 13? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 13 is approved by unanimous vote. Article 14. To see what sum the RSU will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the RSU's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. School board recommends 0 because apparently there is no debt service. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 14 as written.
Second.
Any discussion on Article 14? If not, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Article 14 is approved by unanimous vote. Article 15, to see what sum the RSU will raise and appropriate in additional local dollars in support of the food service program. School board recommends $105,000. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt Article 15 as written. Second. This money helps fund the school's food service program and equipment replacement.
Any discussion on Article 15? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 15 is approved by unanimous vote. Article 14. I'm sorry, Article 16. This is the additional local funds article, and the vote on this by state law has to be by a written ballot. It's quite a long article. Is there a motion to suspend the reading of Article 16? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of suspending the reading or any discussion of that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. That's a vote. So that suspends the reading. Is there a motion on Article 16?
I move to adopt Article 16 as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 16? Seeing none, all in favor are going to have to vote by written ballot. If you're in favor of the article, I'm sure you know, vote yes. If you're opposed to the article, vote no. And then the clerks will tabulate the votes once everybody has voted. And it looks to me as if are there separate colors by town or they're all the same? Okay. And they're all pink, right? Purple. I think maybe I'm colorblind, but they look pink from here. Yep.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
One more voter. Yeah, the vote's still open. If anyone hasn't voted, you can still vote. Has everybody voted?
Drum roll.
Article 16 is approved by a vote of 49-3. Article 17, to see what sum the RSU will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024, from the RSU's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School board recommends $21,700,178. Is there a motion on Article 17?
I move to adopt Article 17 as recommended.
Second.
This article authorizes the school board to spend the recommended budget in fiscal year 2024. The school board cannot spend an amount above the authorized budget.
Any discussion on Article 17? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 17 is approved unanimously. Article 18. In the event that the RSU receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in its budget, shall the school board be authorized to use all of the additional state subsidy to decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20A, Section 15671-A(1) for local property taxes for funding public education as approved by the school board. School board recommends ought to pass. This is basically saying if the district gets more state subsidy than has been projected, that'll be used to reduce property taxes. Is there a motion on Article 18?
I move to adopt Article 18 as recommended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 18 is approved. Unanimous vote. Article 19, shall the RSU appropriate recommended $386,624 for adult education and raise recommended local share of $65,000 with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous revenues in the interest and for the well-being of the adult ed program. School board recommends ought to pass. Is there a motion?
Adopt Article 19 as written. Second.
Is there an explanation?
Oh, yeah. This article covers academic and vocational as well as enrichment programs offered through the adult education.
Any discussion of Article 19? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Article 19 is approved. Article 20, shall the school board be authorized to expend other revenue from state, federal, local, and private sources for the support of schools? School board recommends ought to pass.
I move to adopt Article 20 as written.
Second.
This article allows the school board to pursue and use funds that may be received through unexpected grants or donations and grant applications that are made by members of the regional school unit, staff, or community. We do not include a specific amount due to the unpredictability of the receipt of funds, and because most are dedicated to a specific project or purpose. Examples of some of the funding we received in 2022-23 are Title 1A, $181,421, Title 2A, $43,283, Title 4, $18,238, Title 5, rural low income, $24,689, local entitlement, $364,355, and other miscellaneous grants, $50,000. Also in 2022-23, we received federal allocations tied to COVID-19, ESSER, $385,595. The estimated income for the upcoming year is $350,693.
Is there any discussion on Article 20? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Article 20 is approved. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I would just remind you that under Maine law, it actually takes a meeting and then a referendum vote to approve a school budget. And so the budget validation referendum to approve what you guys all did at this meeting will be conducted on June 13th. And the polls will be opened in each of your towns at 8 in the morning, and they'll stay open until 8 p.m. And unless what's happened at today's meeting is approved at the budget validation referendum, you'd have to go back and start over again. The only other thing I would observe is that in the script that was handed out here, it says that I was nominated to reside at this meeting. I'd like to just change that to preside so that I can go home. With that, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The meeting is adjourned.